Wow, what an invitation to the golden aged era of love, lightness, and peace. And a little happiness. How does that sound? Well, I don't know any other way that could lighten our path to change than spirituality. And there's one special luminary that resides in service in Europe, actually in England, and is the European director of the Brahma Kumaris, also overseeing activities in the Middle East, and that is our very dear sister Jayanti. Please welcome her onto the stage.
Om Shanti. Good morning to all my sisters and brothers. We've had already a beautiful morning, as Elizabeth mentioned. And I'm remembering something that happened a couple of years ago in London. Some of you know that there's a very well-established science museum there. And they were honoring India for a year at that time. And they had all sorts of things that India had been able to be the cradle of discovery for way back in time, many, many millennia ago. And they had exhibits about astronomy, about surgery, various things. But one of the highlights was that they said that India was the place that discovered zero, which is fine. But the little caption underneath caught my attention. And the caption read that only in a place where there's an awareness of eternity could there have come the concept of zero. And I thought that linking those two things was very beautiful and very profound. And it reminded me that it's here in Bharat, in India, that we actually believe in the concept of a cycle. And that tells us the story of eternity. If you want to describe eternity, how do you do it? The best way is to create a circle, a cycle, no beginning, no end. In other countries and cultures that don't have that tradition, and maybe the base is a more materialistic one or a different philosophy, there's a linear concept of time. And if we look at time on a linear scale, and we see the darkness around us today, we wonder, well, what does the future hold? And there are not many people who have answers to that question. And yet, when we see things in a cyclical way, and of course, the whole of nature supports the idea of cycles, whether it's the seasons, whether it's the day and night, whether it's the climate, whatever it may be, the life cycle of a seed, a tree, a flower, fruits, any of those things move in cyclical pattern. And so it seems that maybe if we start thinking about human life on the planet in the form of a circle, a cycle, maybe we'd have some hope for the future. And so a spiritual response to these very, very difficult times that we're experiencing today is definitely a response that tells us, well, don't look at things just for the immediate step of from here to here, from A to B, but step back a little and view the whole concept of human evolution in the form of a circle, a cycle. And in ancient Bharat, we are told that there was a land of perfection. And it's actually not just a story that's remembered in Bharat. It's a story that's remembered across all the traditions, whether they call it Dreamtime or Utopia or Atlantis or anything else. But that idea that here on this earth, there lived a race of human beings who had divine qualities, who are able to meet each other and exchange with each other just simply with the power of the pure mind. Today, I don't want you to know what's going on in my mind, but if my mind was clean and pure, I would be happy to be transparent so that you could see exactly what I'm thinking and feeling, and you would do the same. It would be reciprocal. And so that state where human interaction is filled with light and love and divinity and peace, and everything around them is also working in harmony with them. So a state which is described as heaven, paradise, Garden of Eden, but from that world of beauty and truth, which in Bharat we call Satyug, the age of truth, we traveled, and the journey has brought us all the way through to what we describe as the age of death, the age of darkness, Kali Yuga, the dark age. But the hope for the future is when I understand things in the cyclical manner. Yes, I know that from an era of falsehood and post-truth, we're moving towards an era of truth. From a state in which everything has become very fake and false, including the food that we eat, including human relationships, everything but everything. We're moving now into a world of truth, of dignity, of love, of purity. How can all this happen? There are two energies that can make it happen. And one is the energy of the divine, but as it so happens, God alone can't do it. He needs our cooperation. She needs our cooperation. God is the mother and father, so we can say he and she. And so God, our parent, wants our cooperation to be able to bring about the change that's needed. When human beings change, then the world can change also. The energy of God gives us the power to be able to change, but it also needs human involvement, total engagement, so that the power of God and our pure intention to bring about positive change can bring about a transformation so that Kali Yuga, the dark age, can again be transformed into Satyug, the age of truth. And I believe that this is why we're gathered here. Sunday morning isn't an easy morning to make a trek into town and to come to an event which is of a spiritual nature, unless you already are searching for something which is spiritual. Maybe you've tried many different things already, and it hasn't quite worked. But maybe this is the part that you can reflect on and think about and experiment with. And the journey is, our dear sister, the Vice President, told us very beautifully that it's an inner journey. That's the journey of transformation. It's the journey of the relationship of the self with the self, of the self with the divine, the self with the environment. So yes, absolutely, that's what it's all about. How does change happen? It doesn't happen just by talking about it, and it certainly doesn't happen by telling somebody this is what you have to do, but it happens when I do something for myself. And maybe you've tried to change a little habit. I won't ask who's tried. I'm sure everybody has some habits that they've tried to change at some point in their journey. But I'm talking about total change, not just change of one little habit or one little mannerism or one way of speaking or tone of voice, but a total transformation. Not so difficult as one would imagine, actually, because spirituality says that within the human spirit are the fundamental values that make up the being that I am, the soul. And within this being are those qualities that we all want to see in the world out there. We look for them out there, but we forget that they're within. And so the journey within is reminding us that what we hold inside ourselves are the greatest treasures of all. We hold love and peace and truth and joy and purity. Not a word that we use often today, but it's a very important word in the spiritual dictionary. And so when we go on that inner journey and we discover these universal values which are there in every single soul in the family of humanity, when we touch those, when God touches those qualities within us, then we begin to emerge them, we begin to express them, and we're able then to interact on the basis of those qualities. So it's not so difficult. If we had to look for something out there and try and find it, it may be a difficult journey. But to go on the inner journey and discover that which originally belongs to me, but I've simply forgotten. Now I'm having to emerge those qualities again. And as I emerge them, I begin to see my world around me change. And so yes, it's true. When I change, my world changes, but also the world around me changes. There's a question I often get asked, and that is, well, change is slow, one person at a time. Yes, one changes and it's an inspiration, an example to another. But what about the whole world, the collective? How is that going to change? Well, I can't actually do something about everybody out there. Yes, I can change. But here's a lovely example. Think about a container that has water, and you're trying to freeze that water. But what will happen is that after a certain period of time, one crystal, another one, a few crystals will begin to form. But after a certain number have formed, then it's not just one at a time anymore, but after that critical mass has been reached, then the whole container freezes. And so we're talking about reaching critical mass, which may take a long time. And so the minority begins to change. But once that minority has reached that critical mass, then it has an impact on all. And so it's possible to bring about transformation within the community, within the collective, within the world. And so that definitely offers us great hope for humanity. I also came across a very interesting experiment some time ago. And it was an experiment that was conducted at Harvard University, and it was on the subject of kindness. And what they did was they had people around a table, groups of 5, and they had one particular individual who was planted. And the game was, it was a game, the game was you build a city. And you're given a certain budget and you build that city from that budget. But what was also there was a pot that was for the common good. And each one could contribute to that pot. And what happened was the actor was told, what you do is instead of just 10%, you put 20%, put double. And if you had the idea of putting 15%, well, try putting 30% into that pot of common good. So people around the table observed this. And after they'd finished their game, they were moved to the next table and the next and the next. And these 5 people moved into different tables, and they carried that idea of doubling the amount for the common good. And not only did 5 people impact 5 tables, so 25 people were impacted, but each one of those were also able to impact the next table, the next table, the next table. And to calculate, and around 125 people were impacted by one individual through that act of kindness. And so does that give you hope for the future? I hope it does. Because whatever you do it's not just for yourself alone, but it's an inspiration to 125 others at least, maybe even more, but definitely that amount. And so to start off with a self is the only way to begin. But when I understand that it's not only God's power that's giving me the possibility of transformation, so that habits change very, very fast. Can you imagine a habit that I've had for 20 years, 25 years, 6 years, whatever it may be, with that power that comes through the inner connection, and that's called yoga, Raj Yoga, the way to attain sovereignty over the self. When I practice meditation, Raj Yoga, I take that power to be able to transform and return to my own original state of goodness, but it also inspires everybody else around me. But there's another factor, the factor of time. Sometimes you can't force change to happen, but you know that change will happen as time passes on. And so time is passing on, and time is moving to that era which is the age of truth. And so God's intervention, our pure intention, and the passage of time, and I know that very soon we'll be able to come to that state in which there is that period of perfect harmony within the self, within beings, but also nature too. Nature is giving us very, very big signals. I don't need to tell you about climate change. It's happening. It's not going to happen, but it's happening right now. But that too, it's the impact of human chaos inside our own hearts and minds that's creating the chaos in society, but is also creating the upheaval in nature. I don't think it's so far-fetched. Why? Because vibrations, and whatever vibration is being activated is going to impact on everything that goes on. And so the chaos inside and the chaos outside are absolutely connected. But turn that around. With God's love, God's power, we create order and harmony within. And what's going to happen outside? We're going to see harmony around us in relationships. We're also going to see harmony within nature, but also harmony within humans and nature. And so transformation is absolutely not just possible, it is what is happening today. We are moving towards that era of truth. On the one side, we see the force of negativity that's pulling the world down and creating huge divisions and conflict. But on the other side, we see the emerging energy, the ascending energy of goodness also. I don't think people would have traveled from 130 countries for a spiritual retreat or to come for a spiritual program on a Sunday morning 20 years ago or even 10 years ago, and yet it's happening today. In Britain today, people are becoming vegetarian or even vegan. And when I was at school as a child, I didn't get anything to eat except boiled potatoes and lettuce leaves as a vegetarian. And so today, you can get vegetarian meals anywhere. So little things, but holistic health. We're seeing signs of that. People looking at health not just from an external point of view, but from an inner point of view, in which what is it that's creating the disease and illness, and how is it can be resolved through a change of attitude, a change of lifestyle, a change of consciousness. So we're beginning to see things very differently. And so I see that not only is there hope for the future, but there's an absolute guarantee that the future ahead is one that's filled with light and God's love. And my contribution, it has to be that I carry away this determination for change, this inspiration for change, but also maybe what I can do is simplify. Is it possible to simplify my needs? I remember saying from Mahatma Gandhi that there's enough, absolutely enough for everyone's needs, but there isn't enough for even one person's greed. And so today we can change that story around and come back to that awareness of what is it that I truly need rather than what is it that I want. And when I'm able to fill myself with the abundance of the treasures that God's able to give me, then I can start giving. Instead of taking from nature, taking from the world, taking from others, is it possible for me to start giving? Maybe I just give a smile. Maybe I just say a few kind words. Maybe I give a little bit of my time. Maybe I give a little bit of my attention. Yes, maybe I give my money for a good cause, whatever it may be. But it starts with just that understanding. Instead of being a taker, let me start being a giver. And the givers in Hindi, devta, the ones who give, not the ones who take, but dene wale, the ones who are able to give. So let me just bring about these two things that change in my life. Simplify my needs and fill myself so that then I can start giving to others. And I think that we'll then be well on the way to a very beautiful world filled with truth. Let's have a few moments of reflection, of meditation, experimenting with this inner journey and this connection of Raj Yoga, the connection of the self with the divine. Just sitting comfortably. Let your thoughts slow down. And in the space between the thoughts, I come to that awareness of who I truly am. I am a being of light. I, the soul, shine. In the center of the forehead is the throne that I occupy. And in the awareness of I, the living being, the soul, I realize I, the soul, am eternal, beyond the limits of matter. No beginning, no end, eternal. And I go back in time to my original state of being. Within the circle of eternity, now at the end, I forgot myself, but I go back to the beginning of the cycle, my original divine state. And in this original state of being, there is peace. Peace is there within the soul. And I, the soul, in this awareness of peace, can feel the presence of the Supreme. From the source of peace, of love, of light, draw these qualities within myself. And as peace from the one above touches the soul, the peace within the soul emerges. I am a being of peace. In the presence of the ocean of love, the love that had become hidden under many, many other experiences, now emerges. I realize this is who I am. A being of love. All I have to do is to allow God's light to shine, and the light uncovers the treasures that I carry within. God's light awakens the truth within the soul. And the truth emerges. And I draw from God the power to be able to follow the path of truth. Peace, love, truth are the original treasures that we all share. God, the being of light, the benevolent parent, the truth, the beautiful one, the benevolent one, Shiva, Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram, is the one who's transforming us and allowing us to return to that state of benevolence and beauty once again. Om Shanti. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Sister Jayanti. Well, it's hard to speak. It's so beautiful, the sentiments, the words, the feelings. I thought it might be lovely to meet very briefly, some of our other international meditators. So let's have a look who's here. Maybe they're still beyond in that silence, but let me see who we have here. So, I think there's Sister La from Thailand. Hello, Sister La.
Here. Hello.
Tell us where you're from.
I'm from Thailand.
Okay. And from Bangkok? How long have you been meditating with Brahma Kumaris?
Over 30 years.
Oh. So you must be really, really peaceful. Yes, I think that deserves a round of applause. Okay, so who else have we got? You know, we have someone here for the very first time, meditation from Cuba. Where is our sister from Cuba? ¿Dónde está? Okay, please stand up and can you say welcome? Cuba never had Brahma Kumaris. Isn't that wonderful? First time ever. So now we've got people here. Where are you from?
My heart is from India, but I'm representing Nigeria.
Okay, heart from India and representing Nigeria, Africa. Wonderful. And here we have Brother Charlie, who you'll meet in a very short time. He's from Australia. He was my teacher a long, long time ago. And all our great sisters from Delhi, Sister Vedanti from
Nairobi, Kenya, Africa.
And Sister Vedanti was I think the first one to go to Africa and opened the whole of Africa for the Supreme and for this service. And I'd like to introduce Sister Asha, who you will meet after lunch as well. Because Sister Asha is very much the backbone of this whole thing. She's very silent, brings it all together, and very beautiful heart and powerful. And this is a big part of her inspiration as well. So I'd like you to meet Sister Asha.
Om Shanti.
So how has this big thing been for you?
I'm really amazed at the efforts that our double foreigners, brothers and sisters have made to make this a reality.
Thank you, Sister Asha. Sister Asha is going to introduce your former president a little bit later in the program. Thank you for your trust too. Gabriela, Vice President. Wasn't she inspiring? Imagine if all our politicians were like Gabriela. It would be wonderful. No, a world. Sister Moira from Argentina as well. How long, Sister Moira, have you been coming to India?
For 33 years.
Whoa, 33, and sometimes a number of times a year. Twice a year. So let's just have a look by it. All of these representatives here. You're going to meet them up on stage and find out where they're from, but please welcome them. Okay, so I want to come and talk to you a little bit now. We have a test for you. Sister Jayanti took us into a space where our minds probably are nice and peaceful now. So now I've got a test. What are you seeing? Which one of those lines is longer? Who says the top line is longer? Show me your hands. Top line longer? Please, hands up. I'm coming to see you, so show me. Hands up, the top line is longer. Very few. Is the bottom line longer? Hands up. Which one? The bottom line is longer? Okay, 1 minute.
Yeah, both seems to be same.
Do they look the same?
Yes. If you just put down those extended Ys, you get the arrows, and then the length of the line is parallel and same distance.
Are you an engineer?
Well, and I'm just a nice human being trying to become better.
Very good answer. Thank you very much. It's true. They are both the same, but they don't look the same, do they? So let's just have another look at a similar thing. Paolo, the next one. This is the thing about illusion. So, would you say that the back one looks longer than the front one? Would you say yes? Who would say? that it looks longer. Okay, is anyone here? Okay, but they are the same size. Again, the same size, but it definitely looks longer. Let's try a different one. Paolo, the next one. Okay, what are we seeing here? Tell me what you see. What are you seeing? Okay, someone tell me. What are you seeing? Someone answer? Who speaks? Yes, can you tell me? Come. What do you see?
There are two faces.
Okay, who else is seeing two faces? Yeah? Two faces. Is anyone seeing something else? They're same face, identical faces. What else? A jar. Ah, okay, so there's like a cup in the middle, a chalice, right? Who can see both things? You can see both. The vase is in the middle, exactly. But you don't see one or the other first. You see the faces or the vase. And now you see the vase. So sometimes we have to have people show us something we just can't see. We think we're seeing the truth. Sister Jayanti spoke a lot about truth, but we're not seeing the whole picture. We're just focused on one thing. So Paolo, the last image, please. What do we see? What do we see? Yes? A girl. Who's seeing a girl? Who can see the girl? Hands up. I'm coming to see you. Can see a girl? What are you seeing?
No, I don't know.
What can you see?
Girl. A girl? Yeah, it's a girl.
Okay, who sees the girl? Hands up. Okay, what are you seeing?
First I saw the old woman, then I saw
the girl. Who sees an old woman? Who's seeing an old woman? Okay, some people here. Who can see both the old woman and the young girl? Both are there. Okay, so the young girl is looking the other way, and the old lady, she has the ear of the young girl as her eye, and the chin of the young girl as her nose. She's got a very big nose. Okay, so check with the people beside you. Can you see both? You can. But you can?
Yes.
Yes. Did you see them from the beginning?
Not from the beginning, but later on.
Yeah, but it's interesting, isn't it, how we switch. We think we're seeing the whole story, and we're not. Okay. During this next period of time, we're going to have some other experiments to elevate our power of seeing, to be able to see a bigger picture, a more complete picture.